Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and it is November 30th, 2022. Happy Wednesday, and it is Hump Day. So happy Hump Day to everyone. Let's start off with our overview of just our weekly performance. S&Ps are opening slightly higher this morning. We did see some mid-session selling pressure coming from certain asset classes and the tech sector in specific, with Apple leading the downside. That also put us into a position of breaching the expected move for the week. Once again, our expected move should be about $76 this week, and we're already testing the lower boundary. This is also a very technically important area for the market. So all of this kind of culminates into a marketplace that may be about ready to move. And by move, I mean be a bit more directional, big picture, and maybe start to explore new price levels that we haven't really seen in the past couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for volatility to pick back up this week. I'm thinking Thursday is going to be the kick off of that catalyst, but we are seeing some cracks in the structure of this range. And for now, we're still inside, but I think things are going to start picking up a little bit more as we get into December. And as we shift back to the SPY, I think that's an important topic for us to cover this morning is let's actually take a look at how this year has performed across the multiple indices, certain asset classes, and talk through maybe some expectation for December, along with the way to think about possible market moves into the end of the year. The first thing that I want to bring to attention to is how did the S&P perform this year? And you can do this in a couple of different ways. If you have Trading Terminal, we do have a year-to-date filter. And what this will allow you to see is all four of the fairly observed market indices, what their relative performance is for this entire year. You'll, of course, notice that there has been underperformance in the NASDAQ. Most of our selling has not only been steeper in downside play with tech stocks, but on the rallies, most of the time the NASDAQ cannot necessarily catch back up to the performance of other indices. What's interesting about this is the bounces are often stronger. From low to high, the percentage gains can be much grander. But as an aggregate and as the entire year plays out, the NASDAQ is technically the laggard. And while we have seen some recovery the past couple of weeks, remember that the NASDAQ is still technically down 30% from its year-to-date performance, and that's approximately around its all-time high. It's plus or minus a couple of percentage, given that it topped out a little bit earlier than the S&P. The IWM and the SPY, as of late, have been much more heavily correlated. I would even argue that there has been some similarities in the structure of how these indices have played technically and throughout some of their market moves. They're also percentage-wise in similar territory. The S&P is currently only down 17% from its all-time high. And that's, of course, based most recently on the recovery we've seen from about 350 to 400. The IWM as well started off the year in a position to sell, basically already starting in a sell swing from its all-time highs. But as of recently, the rally and recovery along with some outperformance in small caps, mostly related to some of the more recent dollar weakness, has led to this index catching up. And what you'll notice is that there's also a lack of sell pressure on the most recent sell swing. The fact that we didn't have to breach the previous low is an important note, indicating that this product was actually being observed for range play. Essentially having the high to low trade occurring on the IWM. And that can be easily seen with a chart structure here. But it can also be seen as to why this particular level might be important for the IWM. It is essentially the return of small caps back to their pre-pandemic highs, and more specifically, a gap fill after a breakaway gap and outperformance in 2021. So there's a lot of specific reason why this particular price level was defended so well, along with the mentality of how far back did this product have to basically return before we saw a lot of sideways trade. So those are some concepts to kind of remember, especially if you're looking for positional trading. If you're trying to get into a product maybe during a particular month, or if you think that there is some change in the risk factor for a sector or certain stocks, technicals will kind of help you gauge your risk parameter of why buy at these levels or why sell at these resistance zones. But additionally, it'll also help you understand the performance that can be expected. Usually technicals will give you a sense of targets whenever the bounces do commence. So that's the IWM in a nutshell. And then last but not least, the Dow. And I think this is the one that's been surprising a lot of market participants, mostly because of how quickly this particular product has outperformed on this most recent bounce, or this most recent rally off lows. The Dow, of course, is calculated very different than other market indices. All three of the ones mentioned prior are, of course, market cap weighted indices, whereas the Dow is calculated based on the share price of the underlying 30 stock holdings. So as we know, the Dow does have a skew towards certain stocks simply because, if I can find the Dow, simply because their stock price is much higher. So for example, the lowest impact to the Dow from a dollar to dollar perspective would be something like Intel, simply because it's unreasonable to think that Intel would move plus or minus $5 within, let's say, a couple of days. But something like United Healthcare, which is priced at $5.28, that of course can move plus or minus $5 within an hour. And the volatility of its share price is much more impactful to the actual index. So, or average, I guess, industrial average. So the way to think about this outperformance is to kind of think about which stocks have been gaining during this period, and obviously thinking about what sectors do those represent. As I mentioned before, United Healthcare, stocks like Goldman Sachs and Home Depot, they're all representing different sectors and are somewhat large market cap holdings within their respective sectors. But their outperformance as of late has been one of the drivers of Dow leading to the upside. And as you can see, we're only really down 7% year to date. If I go ahead and bring this up in my platform here and just pull up a year to date, I had it saved. We'll do a daily. So just a year to date performance here. We're looking at this product being down as much as 20% on the most recent low. and then of course gaining back about 13 of that downside percentage, with the upside potential here being close to 20%, from low to high. So what's interesting about that is that I think the market has somewhat rewarded certain companies and industries within both the Dow itself and the larger sectors that those companies kind of represent and are large holdings inside of. The one that's been a standout, of course, has been industrials, but we've seen some outperformance in financials. We've seen a rally back in healthcare, and there's been some star performance as of the past 2 months in those particular sectors, with some of that being seen on sector performance. I don't really have a 2-month gauge here. I'm mostly trying to anchor the performance close to when the CPI low was encountered, and that was mid-October. So 1 month or 3 month, you can kind of see where the market has been kind of placing their bets for the most part. And you can also see that there's been, once again, weakness and strength. So it's really important as traders to identify this as soon as possible, recognize that there are sectors that the market is doing something abnormal or outlier-esque inside of, and using that to your advantage. Ideally, by finding these sectors a bit early, by having a sense of why that sector might outperform. Maybe there's something to do with supply-demand changes. As I mentioned before, the dollar has driven a lot of categorical changes in which asset classes are going to outperform, along with what does the market think our economic stage happens to be. Whether we are looking at a recessionary period coming up or not, the market will start to align some of its performance and basically put its money inside of sectors that might lead during that period, or essentially will be more resilient during that period. And a lot of people usually place their bets on defensive names, along with some categorical sectors that have, I forget what it's called, pricing power, inside of either their commodity product, and that's where the dollar kind of comes in, or inside of how they can roll this into different asset classes like financials, having certain spreads within the bond products that they trade. So all of this is part of a larger market performance. And when we're looking for how to find these early, we're often looking for trends. We're really looking to see, okay, well, if something is recovering, for example, if we were to have identified the Dow at an early period, there are moments in time where you can see changes. For one, you could see things like moving averages getting broken, usually by price, and ideally by clearing the previous high that rejected the moving average in question. Anytime you get above those key levels, not only is the trend starting to change, but oftentimes the opposite effect is true, and you go into a different type of trend, whether it be an uptrend or a corrective wave of trend. And you compare that to something like the SPY, which had the same characteristics, but you'll notice that most of our breakouts lead to lead to pullbacks. They're not necessarily as impulsive as other markets. So the moment you start to see impulsivity, that often will lead to a slightly stronger bias. One that's been pretty characteristic of that has been financials. And then, of course, industrials. The size of these moves, and more specifically the levels that they're starting to hit at this point in time, indicate conviction. They indicate that the market is actually convinced of this sector and is keeping, basically a bullish lean inside of it. So these are some aspects of what I've seen throughout the past couple of months, but it's also characteristic of sector rotation. Normally, sector rotation is a multi-month process. It normally will show slowly, and then eventually will start to become more apparent as those sectors hold their performance or start to gain categorically over time. I bring up healthcare not because of my bias towards it, but it shows the structure needed to be convinced that it is bullish versus bearish, or range bound versus trending. And there are trade ideas that form throughout these price levels, but there also is this concept of what sectors are holding up the market and where should I put my allocation, where should I be bullish versus where should I be bearish. Once again, coming more as a trader, but also understanding that these types of sectors, the ones that are bearish for a reason. The market doesn't see the risk versus the reward as we move into new economic cycles, which simply means they might not perform right now. They're going to stay depressed or lower in price region. They're not going to be as impulsive back to the upside, even when the market itself is recovering. And that's what's so important is, just because something is bouncing, if it's not outperforming the benchmark, then for the most part, you're still looking at a laggard sector, even though it is rallying from a low. It's just kind of following the market itself, and whether or not it's gaining or lagging is important. So I think those concepts sometimes get lost in the minutia of what we do as day traders, and to some degree as swing traders. We're always looking for something explosive, which is fine. Grab something to drink here. You could tell my voice was starting to fail there. We're always looking for something explosive. Explosivity is great, but usually you can take advantage of that on the day trade side. Those are going to be the stocks in play. They're going to be breaking out. They're going to have set up for quite a while. A good swing trader, for the most part, is looking for a reason to buy on pullbacks, or a reason to buy a breakout that they believe has already set up for long enough. They're essentially trying to get into the market at an advantageous time and price, such that the market's going to reward them when everything as a whole is moving to the upside. And ideally, they're looking for something that's not only going to go in their favor, but it has clear strength or weakness, clear relative strength, clear relative weakness. Something that just because it's breaking out, everything could be breaking out, but their particular choice has more edge, is more likely to hit their target, has a little bit more momentum, et cetera, et cetera. So this has been something that I think a lot of traders have learned this year over time, or through maybe losing capital. There's been lessons this year that I think a lot of traders have taken to heart. They're also, I think a good trader this year is also starting to expand their understanding of how markets work. And what's been so great about this year is we've had a lot of things to focus in on. We've had strength in certain asset classes and commodities, driven by factors outside of just supply demand models. We've had things like dollar to constantly focus on. We've had things like rates, and the shifting of these tides, whether they be short, medium, or long term, we can kind of see things forming as things get extreme, and often when trends change, those shifts have led to the performance that we're looking for. Usually when one thing is hitting its high, another thing might be hitting its low, whether it's correlated or not, positively or negatively. And we've had trades that are based solely on this. I've talked kind of extensively about how dollar and precious metals tend to be not only highly inversely correlated, but their alignment of that inverse correlation is very precise within a couple of sessions, if not the same session. And we're seeing it through time, how this works. As the dollar falls, gold, for example, rallies. And if you look at just its relative percentage drawdown this year, gold's essentially flat for the year to date. Yeah. So you could have been holding gold this entire year. And of course, you saw some volatility, just like the rest of the marketplace. But as an asset class, that part of your portfolio is flat, which is better than equities. It's equivalent performance here, and a gold investor has outperformed equities this year, even though they've had to deal with similar upside and downside, just high to low percentage performance. As traders, though, we want to know why this is happening. We want to know why this rally is coming out, and we want to take advantage of it at the moment that it's occurring. Same thing with silver, of course, leading back to, once again, sort of a flat performance this year, and also looking to possibly break longer term downtrend levels, things like the 200 period moving average on a range breakout. So there's a lot of these elements that hopefully, I think, as this show has kind of presented, but also as we've just kind of discussed the why and to some degree the how, all of these pieces of a puzzle will help us perform better in the future. The more we know about why an asset class is moving, the more we know why the market is rewarding or punishing certain sectors, and the more we can take advantage of it, the better opportunities we'll see in the future. But additionally, we'll also stay away from things that aren't keen to do what the technicals might suggest. And that's usually where we get things like bad rallies or poorly performing bounces, things that are setting up at the same time, but simply don't have the same performance. You always want to be focusing on the ones that are either relatively strong or relatively weak, depending on your bias. So to kind of round out that discussion, as we're looking into December, a lot of market participants are expecting some sort of rally. Whether December is just a bullish month for the S&P, and we can look and see, November was bullish. It's hard to argue the green candle that we have sitting in front of us, and obviously October was our recovery as well. But a lot of market participants are expecting more. They do want to see the S&P continue in December, probably getting up to about 420 as some of our targeted, channel-based levels, and even getting up to test some of our swing highs from our sell swings back in August and September. I would say that there's a little bit of a contrarian argument to that as well, given what we saw last December. So last December, as we were hitting all-time highs, obviously the market was still very bullish at the time. The sentiment was enormously, this is essentially a new paradigm kind of levels, very euphoric. And of course, we saw the effect of that this year as things started to really shift around Fed interest rate decisions. this argument kind of falls into what the expectation is this December. Um, don't allow yourself as a trader or even as an investor to assume that just because it is a more likely probability or every talking head assumes more upside that the market is simply going to provide it. There needs to be evidence of that. And as I mentioned before, our technical setup here is that we're kind of limited on additional upside without, at the very least, another type of pullback. We'll need to see a reason to buy a rally. We'll need to see a reason to be bullish through one of our stronger resistance levels. And even if it does occur, we'll still be wanting to look for an opportunity to get in after resistance is broken. Usually some sort of back test structure. So don't allow, I guess, that bias to kind of cloud your trading decision. If the market is in a decline, be extremely careful assuming that it's going to bounce at any point. Be looking for reasons to buy, essentially, and ultimately reasons to sell. But also be looking for whether or not those outperforming sectors are still showing you what you need to know for additional upside. One thing that kind of has me a little cautious right now is a lot of our relatively strong sectors are at resistance. And while that doesn't mean the market's going to fall, it means that the upside risk is really, really high. Resistance just tells me that we could rally out, but the downside potential afterwards is higher, essentially, given previous cycles. Healthcare to me is a problem because we're at resistance. We're at the volume profile and ultimately the range resistance that's been in place for most of this year. Yeah, I mean, this entire range should be pretty obvious to market participants, and I'm just concerned of a pullback here, even if it is short term. That's also true of industrials, same swing high, and financials. They're strong and they've hit resistance. They have reversal structure. But the question I have is what's left? How much more can this rally continue without the help of some of the laggard sectors? If they're not rallying and they start selling again, these sectors aren't enough. They've assisted, but they're just not enough at this point to continue. And into December, be wary if we start to see reverse signals against these resistances and no rally inside of laggards. There would have to be another rotation to really keep the S&P high. Otherwise, a downside move, and particularly one that's pretty fast, could occur just as these are correcting inside of a couple of weeks. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today. It's a little bit scattered in the information, I do admit that, but remember, this is all just review. This is what's happened, looking for what's coming next, remembering where strength has been, remembering where it could change, and looking for those signals into December as we start to plan out our next month of trade. We'll be looking at that a little bit closer tomorrow. And then, as always, stay tuned for pre-market prep. We'll talk through some trade ideas tomorrow and then look at day trade opportunity. As always, like and subscribe if you like the content, and we'll talk more then.
Can't hear you, brother.
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me, Norm?
Loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How are things?
Doing all right, man. I got to tell you, I had some issues with scanners this morning, so I may be a little bit behind. I may not have all the news, but that's all right. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Does mine look okay? Do I need to restart, or was it long as I have, or was it longer than this here was?
It was 6 miles long, dude. It was every ticker under the sun.
Wow.
So you're all good now.
Sweet. Sounds good. Sounds good. Guys, let's give a thumbs up for Jared engineering the markets every Monday through Thursday. So we appreciate him going over a couple of things there. This morning our gappers list, a couple of things in the green as we can see here. 1 second, let me make sure I got mine. There we go. So a couple of things in the green this morning. Some names I haven't seen before, like HZ and P. I was just looking at that before going live here, and some other ones that we're very familiar with. So we'll see what's happening there. Markets are how's the SPY doing? I think they're slightly up today. Actually, were slightly up today.
Yeah, we just had some data come out that's changed things a bit. So
Okay, all right, let's go right to that.
yeah, so we had revised GDP come in a little bit more than expected. That was at 8:30, caused the market to drop a little bit. We've got so many things happening today that frankly I couldn't fit them all on here. So I put the most important. We had the ADP employment report at 8:15, GDP revision as I mentioned at 8:30, gross domestic income at 8:30, along with what else was at 8:30? Real domestic final sales and trade and good deficit. You've got a Fed speaker at 8:50. Chicago PMI at 9:45, JOLTS at 10, which is job openings, labor turnover. So that is a big number that the Fed will be watching to see what's happening in the labor market. Pending home sales index at 10 a.m. Fed speakers sprinkled throughout the day, most important of which is at 1:30. Jay Powell is going to be speaking at the Brookings Institution. Market's been waiting to see what he's going to say. And then at 2 p.m., we've got the beige book. So all that going on.
Yeah, quite a bit for
Hang
today.
on for
So,
dear life.
yep, yep. All right, we'll see what the SPY does here, guys. Getting some reaction this morning, slightly above the previous day close. Was up, well, I said 0.5%. I can't remember the percentage, but was slightly up this morning, giving some of that back pre-market. So, all right, let's get to our list, guys. Let's look at what we have on deck this morning. I'm gonna remove this stuff from this is from Monday, I believe. So let's go ahead, Control A, Control X. And let's bring in what we have today. So starting with HZNP this morning, these guys are up 30%. Doesn't look good pre-market wise though. Looks more like a buyout type play, Norm, here.
Yeah, it is. So I don't know. So this one, it's somebody's looking to potentially buy them. It might not just be dead in the water,
Mm-hmm.
as a lot of these are. That having been said, it doesn't trade a whole lot of volume on a normal basis. I don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah. Yeah, volume is very light across the board here on days that they have moved well. Again, today, obviously, they got some stuff going on, so it might be a different outcome as far as the daily. But I'm with you, man. It might not be a great one. We'll come back to that. If you guys see something great on it, we'll take a look at it. It's up 30%. Here's Wolf, and these guys are up 15.4 this morning, 286,000 so far. We've seen this plenty of times in the past. They don't trade well intraday trade as far as the price action. Volume is extremely light. But they got a good pop this morning, Norm. What's the deal with these guys?
Petco had earnings this morning. So
Yeah, that's popping them up really good this morning. I'm gonna add them to my list, guys. I mean, this is a good pop, 10%. I wish the pre-market would look a little bit better. But again, I don't think you're going to get a whole lot out of a stock that normally doesn't trade very well. But today they're seeing obviously some good volume, a nice pop here, earnings. Let's see if that's going to provide any good opportunities for us. VRDN, it's not doing a whole lot, guys. Barely getting above 100,000, up 13.6. Looks like a therapeutics company here. Yeah, not a fan of the daily. Also, look how nasty this daily is. And what I mean by that is just look at the wicks. Barely got any bodies. A lot of wicks on here, so that to me translates into not a great intraday trading action. Um, So yeah, not sure what's popping them up today, but it
Not
just
seeing
doesn't
anything
look
fresh
interesting.
this morning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll skip on that one. XBEV, we got a couple of Chinese coming up here. Tickers. We got XBEV. We got Lee, Becky, Billy, TCOM, JD, Neo. I mean, all of them. They're all here.
Just about.
Futu, Baba. Everything's here. So
XPEV had earnings.
XBEV did have earnings.
So they have a catalyst. The rest, I think, are just on general China for the most part.
Okay. Will make sense why XBEV right now is clocking in, guys, 4.5 million shares traded. So that's a lot for XBEV. That's very high,
Oh, I
actually.
take it back. Becky had earnings this morning as well.
Ah, okay. So Becky and XBEV both on earnings. Okay, good. XBEV definitely in play, guys. Gonna put that on my list this morning. Let's see how it trades. I mean, it's under $10. Usually this tickers, tickers under $10, under $20 are not the best. XBEV and Neo, though, they can put in some really good trading. We've seen that in the past. Here is Lee. So Lee is up a 6.4 on Chinese news, 589,000. I like the daily on it. It's getting above 20 here. It looks to want to break out, but it's such a hit or miss with this China situation going back and forth. We just don't know what to expect. Are we going to get a sell-off here back into 19? It can really go either way. I'm going to put them as a possible for now. Let's see how this list builds out, and then if we have space, we can move them up. I think they're decent right now. BHC, not a great intraday trading stock. Horrible daily. Just run from this one like normal say. They must have some news though, because we barely see these guys move. Right? Is it earnings or something? Either way.
some finance something they did, but it doesn't look like it's that interesting. And this thing trades like garbage, so I didn't even dig into it.
Yeah, this is pure garbage. I mean, you can tell by the daily. Take this daily, guys, and match it up with anything else you trade, and nothing rarely looks like this, right? So that's tradable. Here's Becky. So Becky had earnings, as Norm you mentioned this morning. They don't have great volume at the moment as far as
They
having
usually
earnings. Yeah. So again, I don't trade them much. But today might be their day. I like their daily is good. I like their daily here. So if they can get going, I don't know if they're on the main list for us though. For me personally, we'll come back to that. Let's put it on there for now. Here's TCOM. Trades horrible. This morning they're up 6.1. I will say it looks like a buyout, but I highly doubt it. But they just don't trade very well. So yeah, very light in volume. Not a big fan. Let's look at J up 5%. So I definitely like Neo on here. Going to add them to the list. And then let's take a look at Baba, which is probably the two, for me, best trading stocks as far as Chinese tickers go, and the news happening there and everything. Every time they're gapping up or down. Baba has much less volume, but still 500,000 for them is not bad. I like the pop they're getting here on their daily. Good possible, I think, though. I don't think it belongs on our main list just yet. It is up 3%. And depending how things go with all these Chinese tickers that are on our list, there could be some good opportunities for Baba to sell down, especially if we're going to struggle to get above this area where we have not been above very much, right? This 84. So definitely like what's setting up there as far as the daily. Gapping down this morning, this is, I believe, CrowdStrike. And again, they're down big.
Yeah, they got nailed. They had earnings last night. Disappointed they're getting downgrades this morning as well. So
yeah, they're I mean, usually they don't trade well, guys. I like them today. I mean, they got a nice drop here. They got good volume, which we rarely see. I mean, look at the daily, guys, right? Average is around what, 3 million, maybe less. Already pre-market, they have almost half of that. So that is a stock that's definitely in play. Again, not a great trader, so still keep that in mind. They don't trade very well, so you might still see some glimpse of just nasty price action. But down this much and this much volume, I think you can put them on your list for today. ASTS this morning, horrible. Just this is pure garbage, guys. Put this up next to the dictionary of garbage. What's my garbage? There we go. This is hot dumpster garbage.
They have a secondary, and they increase the size of it. That's the same thing with the ASPN that's next on your list. So those are both garbage.
It's just garbage, guys. Wow. I mean, garbage on top of garbage here on the gap down list. So yeah, nothing to see there. CrowdStrike is good though. I like them this morning on the gap down list. Looking very nice, very active. Careful with this one too, by the way. Just remind you, and I'll remind you again later as well. This thing can move. You do not need a lot of shares. The spread is not bad for this morning, actually, pretty nice. But yeah, look at this thing. These candles are $1.50 at times, so be very, very careful. Okay, that's what we have. Norm, anything you like that's not on this list yet?
No, frankly, my gappers, like I said, was all messed up when I got in this morning, and it took me forever. I had to restart it like 3 times to get it fixed, so I was a little bit flustered, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still looking.
Gotcha, man. Let's take it to our chat rooms, both on our members chat room and also on YouTube. Let's start with our member chat here. Raf Silla, you're giving us XBEF. Definitely in play today, guys. Again, the volume is just in there, up 12%, looking very, very good. Heading down here, I see all the garbage memes that our chat is sharing. What else do we have? Crowd, bad earnings. Yeah, it was a bad earnings on the CrowdStrike. So they're getting crushed this morning. So definitely in play. Anyone touch Neo anymore? No, Neo hasn't been great, Mr. T. It has not been great. Today they're looking okay, but they lost a lot of of action here. This was fun. This whole drop was here. And it's still, even then, this was still not as fun as we did like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, where man, this thing was just on fire. Higher price, a lot of volatility, tons of volume. Then here it just went sideways. It's just kind of lost a lot of it. But let's see. This Chinese news back and forth, what's happening over there has caused some opportunities for us here as far as trading some of these tickers. What is the keyboard shortcut to clear your watch list in DAS again? I think you have to set that up. It doesn't come set up. So what I give you is not going to be default. I have it as shift and the key left to the number 1. And I always forget what that thing is. Asterisk, something like that. You guys told me all the time. The key that's number 1. The left to it is like a little swiggly line. The tilde key. There you go. Shift tilde. So I do levels with the tilde key, and then if I want to erase, I just do shift tilde and then it erases.
Yeah.
Tilde. Oh, not tilde. Tilde.
That's how it's spelled. It's I don't know what the hell it is, but it's not pronounced A. It ends with an E.
That's the issue with us Hispanics. We read everything the way it's written. So you're always going to hear us say stuff that no, you got to find out how it's pronounced. In Spanish, everything's pronounced the way it's actually written, which makes it so difficult for us to read English stuff sometimes. Okay, guys, we are set. Let's take it to our YouTube chat. You guys have anything there?
I think Charlie just called us stupid.
Charlie?
Charlie C.
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah, that's. Yeah, can we do? I don't have a thumbs down for Charlie, unfortunately. I got to set that up. Just kidding, Charlie. Having some fun today. Workday here, guys, up 10%, 26,000. Doesn't have a lot of volume, which is typical Workday type stuff. Earnings yesterday looks like they're not hitting our list because the volume is just so light. Only 26,000.
Trades pretty poorly usually.
Yeah,
they had earnings last night.
These guys are not great, man. Their spread is usually pretty bad as well. They don't get great volume. So even with the action they got yesterday, I don't expect a whole lot of movement. Well, not movement, a whole lot of great price action today. So yeah. Workday. Let's see here. What else we have? ENTU? Or did you mean INTC? I never heard of INTU. What is this? Oh, Intuit? Oh, I never traded this. What is... No, man, this looks
nasty.
Really bad. Really bad. No volume. The highest volume he has since September has been 4.2 million. Price at 480. Spread, like you said, is $1 plus. Yeah, you don't want to be touching this, man. This is not good. Is menu
$3 on that?
Yeah. No. I think menu's still going here. Manchester is pretty much flat. Looks like they're doing some stuff. Again, this is messy to me. I'd rather trade something else, me personally. So, again, they have plans of being up for sale, whatever the case may be. But I'm not sure about this, man. Don't go off the pre-market. Looks like the pre-market doesn't matter as much. What happens throughout the day, you still get some movement here. But again, it's just I'm not a fan of this at the moment. All right, so we did look at HZNP, and it's a I forgot the news. Was it buyout? But it might be.
There's rumors of people interested in buying them out, so not really a buyout.
Oh, see that you're
It,
right.
it'll
Yeah.
it'll give it the ability to move that a normal like cash
Mhm.
buyout confirmed wouldn't. But that having been said, I don't see it as a great one.
Yeah, not a great
Maybe
one.
I'm wrong.
We've been wrong in the past before, that's for sure. But I'll put it on here just to see what happens with that type of rumor, right? It's not an actual confirmed buyout, although it looks like here on the price action. Let's see how that plays out. Uh, they said Henson and some Sanofi pitched them offers to buy it
Sanofi.
entirely. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We'll see.
Exactly. People
We'll see.
interested in potentially buying them.
This reminds me of a Twitter with the madness of up and down, and then no, we're not buying them. It's just it gets crazy. XBEV is on deck, Pedro. That's looking good. Mike, I put HZNP in our secondary list. So let's see what happens. Doesn't look great though, and even with this rumor stuff, it still might not be a great ticker. They got some volume today, up nicely. Let's see what happens. Fabio, let's look at Apple. Some of our usual suspects coming in here. So Apple had a nice red day yesterday. Pretty much flat right now. They do have the volume. Again, Apple's always great to watch. We do have space for it. For some of our usual suspects, we have Apple. Let's look at NVIDIA. We can dive into some of those. NVIDIA, pretty flat. I love the daily on NVIDIA, by the way. Much better than Apple for me as far as the daily goes. Let's look at AMD. AMD is just kind of sideways right now. They're not doing a whole lot, especially the last 2 trading days. So yeah, I like Apple. I like Nvidia, and I don't think they're heavily in play right now. They're more of a possible, but I like the way their daily is setting up here. All right, excellent, guys. I think we're all set. Didn't skip anyone over on YouTube, so we look good there. JD. So for JD, I barely trade JD. Again, I think well today especially you have XBEV, which is just has incredible volume. You have Nia with tons of volume as well, and then I have Baba, right? So I prefer these three over JD, unless JD has had news like they did. Was it last week or the week before? I can't remember exactly. They had independent news to them, and that made them trade very well over the rest of the Chinese tickers. But today they're just moving with everything else. But if you like to trade that one better, if you like the price action of that one over the other ones, you can definitely add it to your list. Same thing with Billy, guys. I mean, it's moving just on all the stuff that's happening with China. I'm not gonna add them to my list when I got XBEV, Neo, and Baba on here, right?
Same story with PDD. That
is
somebody
said PDD,
being repeatedly asked for on YouTube.
Yeah,
please don't spam over there. It's just moving with China stuff. It has nothing individual that I'm seeing this morning, at least.
Yeah. Pick your favorite. Pick your favorite out of that entire group. And when you're have traded in the past, or you like to trade the price action, you like different price points that you can pick, and you can go from there. Guys, we got not a bad list. A lot of stuff on here with its own catalyst, which is nice. A couple of earnings plays there on Wolf, Crowd that are trading exceptionally well. Let's head over to our community events and announcements and see what's going on for the next 2 weeks. And as we hit the midpoint of this week, over to
bearbootraders.com/webinars, where you can just get there from clicking it at the webinars button at the nav bar at the top of the screen. Every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Carlos doing onboarding and technology, especially for newer members. So try that for your first class. It'll give you the lay of the land, everything around BBT. Tuesday is strategy. Next Tuesday, we've got Carlos talking about developing an educational plan, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then the following Tuesday, Thor is going to be talking about managing the trader, not the trade, and how to know when your system's working and controlling yourself. So check that out, 8 p.m. next 2 weeks from yesterday. Psychology on Wednesdays. Tonight, we have Randy Howell talking about staying disciplined when taking losses, 8 p.m. Eastern. And next week, Dr. Kenneth Reed at 8 on talking about handling pressure. Don't forget about mentorship on Thursday. That's at 11 a.m. with John and 8 p.m. with Thor. Then we've got tradingterminal.com, where we are working hard every single day to improve, add to, and make this the one-stop shop for traders, retail traders, to get information, scanners, real-time replay simulator, everything you could need, including the squawk at the top. Then if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't been in the chat, that intro membership on the far left is 1 week, no obligation trial. You can use the promo code PreMarket24, PreMarket24. That is no hyphens, no spaces, and the numbers 2 and 4 at the end. It'll get you a discount off that intro membership, which is 7 calendar days, 5 trading days in the room. It is a one-time bill. It does not recur. You have to go choose to become a member if you'd like to continue on after that. And if you'd like to become an elite member, Holiday 60 is the elite, is the Black Friday sale that's coming down after today. So 60% off the elite annual membership. And if you would like to, if you're already a member and you'd like to lock in this price, you can. It'll just add it to the end of whenever you currently expire on your annual. So anyway, check that out.
All right, Norm, thank you very much. All right, guys, let's get to our list here this morning. Let's dive in and see what our levels look like so far for the list that we have. We have Wolf, we have XBEV, we have Becky, we have Neo, we have Crowd, and we have Apple, one of our usual suspects, alongside NVIDIA today, which is starting to get some movement here in the last couple of minutes. So we'll come back in here and see what's happening. I definitely like the daily, as I mentioned earlier on NVIDIA. I think we have a real nice daily setting up here. If we're going to be weak, maybe test some of this 150 type price target there. Okay, let's get some levels in. So we're looking at Wolf today. These guys are up 14.6. Again, nice pop for them. Normally, they're not trading well today. They got a nice catalyst, which is causing some good pre-market activity. Hopefully, that's going to continue into the market open. 11.18 is your high of the pre-market. 11.60 is an area where we've seen some action in the past right over here. And obviously, all the way at 12. You have the most recent high, at least from November till now. So we'll definitely mark that there. Then towards the bottom, price action right now is sitting at a level where you're seeing some support and more resistance than anything, right? Right around 1080 looks like. So right in here, tons of resistance, a little bit of support there, not a whole lot, more resistance than anything. And this stock has not enjoyed being above this level, 11 and 1080. Every time it comes up here, it finds a way to make its way right back down. Today we're testing that again. So I'm gonna mark that there, 1087, 1088. I'll put a level on there as well. And then towards the bottom, we got this midpoint level before we get to our highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. This 1043 looks pretty good there. A lot of touches on there, a couple of days opening, closing on that level. And then you have your levels, your support stuff all the way down here with the highs and lows. So that is looking pretty good there. On Wolf, question on Wolf here. I see a lot of algos trading Wolf on the 1 minute. Is that going to affect your decision to keep it on the list? It might. The pre-market action is not great on this one, and I don't expect it to be, because they don't trade a whole lot of volume in the pre-market, and they don't trade a whole lot of volume, period. So if at the market open, I want to see some heavy volume come in here and not see that algo like trading that we're seeing here in the next couple of minutes, right? In the last couple of minutes, I want to see that change. So, but again, you cannot expect this one to give you NVIDIA, Apple, AMD action pre-market, right? It's just not one of these stocks. So you kind of have to wait for the market open to see if Wolf is going to give us something worth trading here, right? So that's the deal with that. So yeah, if you look at the 1 minute, you're going to see that it's just messy, right? That they're not getting a whole lot of volume. So we're really going to have to wait for the market open on this one. But I like the daily on this. I like the catalyst. So hopefully that can do some stuff for us. That's going to help us work here. Here's XBEV. So I really like XBEV today. We're up 11.4. The volume is just insane right now. 5 million. They had was it earnings, right? On XBEV. So they have earnings and they're looking pretty good this morning. Turned out to be nice. So let's see. This one can trade well without earnings. Overall, it can move well. Hopefully earnings can give it that extra push to give us a good continuation, right? These guys always, not always, but for the most part, they get the volume. What we need out of them is a good continuation. We have not seen that at all in the last 2 weeks, right? Just look at this here. Same thing with Neo. We just have not seen that continuation. We were getting it here when we were dropping. A nice continuation opened up, and look at the drop here, $1.50 or plus there. So that's good. Even this day looks kind of funky. It is still good. Look at the drop here. right back up. There's some opportunities there as well. Just a whole lot going on there. But the last 2 weeks, right? Look at the daily. It's just been pretty much flat. So no continuation whatsoever. I think today that might change. So I got 879 up here, good level. Couple of days opening, closing, some resistance there as well. So there'll be some action there if we do decide to head north, east. And then we are high of the pre-market. We're looking at 834, 835 to be exact, is your high of your pre-market, and your low of your pre-market 786. So once you add those three levels, 1, 2, 3. I mean, you're set here, guys. Do not need to add anything else. If for some reason we do start, banging our heads on 879, we can look towards the upside and get more levels off the daily. But right now, let's see what this does here. Here is Becky. Why did I add Becky to my list? Was there a reason? I don't think I wanted this on my main list. I like the possible breakout on the daily, but yeah, I don't want. This is earnings too. Yeah, so Becky and XBet both had earnings, but I don't know about this one, guys. I'm gonna move it back down. Not a big fan of the way this thing trades. It's got decent volume. Let's do this. We'll do levels for it, but it might not stay here by the time I get to 9:30. 1657, high of the pre-market. Towards the bottom, guys, you're all set up here. Highs and lows of the last 2 trading days, previous day close. I mean, tons of stuff towards the downside. If we're able to climb back up towards, man, what a messy daily, by the way. Messy daily. If we look above 1657, areas where I see a lot of touches is going to be right here, 1740. Tons of stuff happening there. And then we also have 1839, great area of resistance. Obviously, we were stuck in this range for a while. It looks like a month and a half, right? Just stuck in this range with a smaller range in there as well, or at least a midpoint of that range at 1740. So again, just a whole lot of action in this area here as far as levels. So yeah, let's see what Becky does. I might not keep this on here. I know they have earnings. I know they're breaking out, but it's just not one of the tickers I'd normally look at. So here's Neo, and Neo again just been not great for about a month and a half, maybe a month now, but definitely horrible for me at least. The last 2 weeks, right? It just hasn't done anything, hasn't really moved, right? This was the fun time. We had a couple of days here that were actually great, but hasn't really done anything in the last looks like 2 weeks or so. Today they got good volume. We might maybe see some sympathy off of a Neo based on XBet, right? XBet reporting and doing well. I'm not sure if that's gonna help, but overall, all Chinese tickers are up this morning. XBet, Neo, and Baba, which I have done here, are some of my favorites to trade. Towards the bottom, plenty of levels there. Even the low of the pre-market, I believe, is no, it's not marked. We can mark it 1082. Low of the pre-market there, and then above, our high of our pre-market is going to be 1118. And then towards the top, we do have 1187 there for Neo. There is an area here, not a major level. This 1151, right? It's not a 1187. It's not a 1118 where you have a lot of touches, but you do have some action happening around that area. It might be worth marking that down if we can. Steve is asking, do you prefer using candles closest versus wicks? Great question. We get that question a lot, and you could do both. You could do both, and I'll give you an example. This is a great example here, actually. So I'm going to remove these levels just to answer this question a little bit better, a little cleaner. So if we look down here, right? If we look down here, look at these candles. In here, I will use the close of this, right? I will use the close of this. I don't have to just use on a daily candle. I don't have to use just the wick, right? I will use the close and I will use the wick, right? Because they're very far out. Now on a candle like this, I am most likely just going to use the wick, right? It doesn't really matter. You could put it even right in the middle. It doesn't really matter. Remember, these levels are also an area. They're not exact to the penny. So if you were to put your level, let's say right here, why not 1919 or over at 1925 or down at 1915, right? It's not a big range when it comes to seeing a candle that close to the wick, the opening or close of the candle close to the higher low of the wick, right? So you don't need to be specific on that. Now, on a candle like this, as I mentioned earlier, I will use both. I will use the body, and I will use definitely going to use this. I mean, this is great level of support, guys. We dropped down, and the only place we found support was at 839. We shot back up, right? So you definitely want to have that on there. That has a big impact. Next time we get to 839, you know, some people are going to expect for this to bounce back up, and if it doesn't have this initial bounce and it breaks down from here, then the people that were thought this was going to bounce back up, you know, are going to bail, and it can drop even further, right? So so it's an area. Now, another thing you could do as well is you can look at where there are more touches. So for example, on this case, I will put the wick, you know, as close as possible to this area here. Why 928? Because I got more confirmation here as well. Opening and closing here, and you got the close and open of this day here as well. So you want to, if you see a place where there's more touches, you want to go with that instead of the actual wick or open of the candle. You don't have to be that specific as far as the level itself. So let's go back and do our highs here. We have 18, 11, 16, and we also have a level up here over at 1165, and then all the way up here obviously at 1237. So a couple of levels there towards the top, guys. You also have this one here, but again, this is like kind of like a minor, I think I did mention that earlier. It's a minor area. It's not a whole lot going on there. It's not a 1237 as you see all the way up here. No, we have, Chad, we do have classes on breaking these levels down. What's a good daily, what's a bad daily. So we do have a class, I believe. I don't know if it's a webinar. I think it's just a class, but we could do a webinar if you guys want. We could do a webinar on it. I'll have to add more stuff because it'll be just a 30-minute webinar if we do just levels. But we can do something. Let me see what that's a spot for early next year. We'll throw actually, where are we, this November? Actually, we could do it sooner than that. I'm thinking it's like end of the year already. We could probably do it sooner than that. We'll get something together. All right, so here's crowd, guys. Big drop today. I normally don't like this ticker. I don't think it trades very well. And I don't think, we know it doesn't trade very well. This is why you don't see it come up a lot on our playlist here, not on our plays, on our watch list. But looking good today. The high of the pre-market is over at 18. The low of the pre-market is down over at 109.02, or not 109.20 to be exact. So you can see around there we dropped quite a bit, and we just blew right by some of these levels of support we had recently here in early November. Let's go to the left. Let's see what we have here. We're hitting some 52-week lows here. Oh yeah, we haven't been down here in quite some time. So definitely breaking some ground here, some new ground as far as the 52-week low. And what is this? A level that we had here. This is an older level. That's why it comes up like that. Levels that I did like probably 2-3 years ago, they come up black for some reason on a Daytrading Pro. You see that they're blocked out. So I'm gonna go ahead and just erase them, and they'll refresh here. So let's go ahead and here 99.62, obviously on the daily, very nice level, very strong level here as well, over at a 108.01. That looks good. I'm just gonna do these two. I'm not gonna go further down. I don't think we'll get a drop to 99.62, but we are ready. I highly doubt that's gonna happen, but we are ready just in case it does. Going back to the daily here, let's zoom into, where is this area? Let's get some levels off of this. We have a nice one here over at 118. Which is actually pretty close. Actually, I want to go with 118 on the dot, because that is actually our high of our pre-market, and you can see why. There's a lot of touches there as well. Good areas of support and resistance, right? You see that support happening here. You see that resistance happening there. So that makes sense why you're getting that. So that is some levels there, highs and lows. And then let's go ahead and see towards the top here. Not the greatest area to find levels, but I'm going to go with 127. Right, that looks like we have the most touches on there as far as the levels goes, and then you're 118 and you're set here for crowd. So that is it right now, guys. You got tons of volume on this thing, looking really good this morning. So yeah, looking forward to this one. All right, usual suspect here, Apple, guys, this morning. Daily right now we are down, pretty much flat at the moment. We're down from the highs though. Highs over 143. We're quite down from that at 141.50. So we got a bit of a drop there. As far as levels towards the top, guys, up here, you are all set. Highs and lows, last 2 trading days. Let's move towards the bottom. Great level here. Another example over for Steve on YouTube. Another example here, 138, right? This is a great level. This is a great level of support. So although this one candle here, although it has the wick all the way down here, this level, you definitely want to mark down, right? And you also want to mark down the wick, because if you look at it as well, you got tons of stuff happening here as well. 134, right? It might be actually 135. You have, a couple of days bouncing off of that. It's been good support for 3 days only. But if you notice, these 3 days, they have bounced pretty aggressively. Look at the run they had here. Look at the rejection. Well, not the rejection, but the buying pressure coming in there. And this thing gapped down, sold off, stopped here. Next day gaps up, and look at the pop that it gets. So that 135, definitely something you want to have. I don't think we'll be stretching Apple down there today unless some news happens with the overall market causing a drop here, a significant drop. I don't see that happening today. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Powell is talking today at 1:30, right? So I take that back. Anything is possible when that man gets on the mic. So be on the lookout for that. If you were not aware, Powell will be talking at 1:30. Let's see what he says and how the market reacts to his comments. That's our list, guys. Wolf, XPEF, Becky, Neo, Crowd, and Apple. Some of these have some earnings on here. XPEF and Becky, and no, I'm sorry, yeah, XPEF, Becky, and Wolf have earnings, so that's good. The rest, and Crowd. Actually, we got a lot of earnings today. Crowd as well. Neo and Apple, just overall market stuff. Neo with overall Chinese stuff, right? So Chinese, if we look at our gap up list, if you missed it earlier today, it is jam packed with Chinese tickers that are moving with the overall situation there. So Billy looks better. It does. How does Billy look? Better than? Yeah, but I have Becky here. I might not watch Becky. I don't know if Billy. It does look better than Becky. Yeah, I agree. Has more volume than Becky. That's for sure. But again, I got XBEV, Neo, and Baba for that. But yeah, Becky, I'm gonna move this down. I don't think it belongs in my main list today. So we'll give it a little more time, but most likely I'm gonna move that down and see what our moderators have on their list. Maybe something I missed that I can add. Oh, Tesla. Looking at Mike's list, he has Tesla on deck. Let's see what's going on here. Not that one.
Not Tulsa.
Not that Tesla. No. Let's go to this Tesla. All right, what do we have here? So
it's been in play every day. I mean, it has volume this morning. It's really not gapping, but we know it's going to move. So
yeah,
just be careful, because sometimes these will be in play, and it has been consistently. And then you'll get stubborn, you'll get stuck thinking I can trade this every day, and then something will change and it just goes into a range and chops you up for a while.
Right.
I'm not saying that's today. It will likely be a good trader, but sometimes that can happen. Happened with Neo. I mean, it happened.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Stuck and fixated on something, and then you keep watching it even when it sucks.
Right. And it's not really in play. Like Neo, guys, Neo has not been in play. Today they got some volume, but it really hasn't. It's like Peter. Peter, we're trying to get Peter off AMD, and we can't. We just can't do it.
No, he's.
Well, so moderators list coming in, guys. We got quite a lot this morning. For those over on YouTube, if you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up. We really appreciate it a whole lot. What we got going on over here? Oh, you're being followed by the whole BBT team, a fake Thor and a fake Carlos. Yeah, careful.
Yeah, just report them. Thanks for the heads up. It's like next to impossible to get rid of all of them.
It's wild. It's wild. And then what they do is they'll block us, right? So what they do is they set up an account and they'll block us, so we won't be able to see them. So your help in reporting these guys, it does a lot. So thank you for that.
It's my favorite when they actually follow you. I've had that happen. The impersonators follow you. It's like, how stupid are you?
On Instagram happens more often than not, where they'll post everything that Andrew posted, and then they'll tag me on it. And I was like, oh, Andrew's posting quite a lot. And I realized, oh no, it's some fake account here.
Happens on YouTube too.
Yeah, it's messy.
We try, but we can't keep up. They just keep popping up.
It's insane.
Watch out for the scammers.
All right, guys. With all this technology, I just don't understand why YouTube or Twitter. I mean, I guess not to their benefit to review accounts like that. They want to have a high number, but it boggles my mind with all the tech that we can control this a little bit better. Carlos, that's you on IG. Carlos M. Yeah, that's me. So Carlos M BBT, no underscore, none of that stuff. That's me on Twitter, IG. Yeah, that's the name. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's see what our moderators have this morning. Let's bring that in. Let's go ahead and see what's happening here, what our team likes today. I'm going to go ahead and resize this, bring this over. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see what we got going on. So we have, starting with Mike, Tesla and NVIDIA, two really good ones. Peter, AMD, Apple, Amazon. Secondary list, XBEF, Crowd, and the Tesla. Again, a couple of great ones there as well. Thor, PDD, Becky, Tesla, and the Qs. Susan, Netflix, Tesla, NVIDIA, and AMD. You can tell we're all watching Tesla. It just has been in play nicely the last couple of days. And Megan's looking at PDD and AMD this morning. So that is our moderators list, guys. As we get ready to get ready for the open here, Brian and Andrew will be trading live in just a moment. Over on YouTube, guys, if you haven't done so, you can try us out. Come join us for the day. Come join us for 7 days, and be able to go in here and see what's happening. Yeah. Yep. Pre-market 24 gets you in. Here it is, Brian. Brian coming in with his list, and he is looking at Crowd, which is in play today. Tesla and ASPN. Ooh, ASPN. I don't know, man. We call this the hot garbage of the day. ASPN and ASTS. Again, just be careful, guys. Be very, very careful. These things can be brutal. But if Brian has it on his list, Brian can trade almost anything. I've seen Brian, take stuff that doesn't look great and do magic. So if he has it on his list,
like a wizard.
Yeah, exactly. And he always has a weird ticker on his list. That's like, okay, why is he watching this? And then after he does his trading, we're like, oh, okay, that's why. So, guys,
what I haven't seen recently, unless I've just missed it, is a just for fun ticker from Brian.
I have not seen. I think this ASPN is just for fun. It has to be, because it's one of those type of risky. Let me see what happens.
Not a low float though.
It's not a low float, but it's just nasty. So I think it's just for fun. But yeah, we haven't seen that in a while from Brian. Not ESPN. Did I say ESPN by mistake? I probably did. All right, guys, we are all set. If you haven't done so on YouTube, thumbs up. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll see you again. We're sitting at 150 likes. We'd love to get 50 more to 200. Helps us out a lot, guys. It really, really does. Keeps this show going on YouTube completely free for you guys. So I appreciate that. So yeah, we will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. So yes, 8 a.m. Engineering the Markets. Tonight we have Psychology at 8 p.m. So don't forget that. And yeah, let's see how this market open, guys. We got a great list. Wolf, XPEP, Becky, Neo, Crowd, Apple, and Tesla. A lot of these with their own catalyst, earnings, Chinese news. Should be fun. Should be a fun day. Take care, guys. Trade safe.
Take care, guys. Trade safe. Don't forget 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Jay Powell speaks. That will be a little crazy for the market.
Yes, it will. Take care, guys.